Check, check. Checking sound. Checking sound. Sound is good? Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Good Friday night to those of you who are joining me on the live stream. For those in the rewatch crew, good day whenever it is for you. Thank you so much for being here. Guys, we are continuing our look at this video, which is the very first, well, it's not the very first. It's the long interview with Jennifer Soto, the mother of Madeline Soto, the 13-year-old Florida little girl who was murdered, according to police, by this man, Stephen Stearns, who is the on-again, off-again boyfriend of Madeline's mom, Jen. Okay. She went missing on February 26th, which was a Monday. The story that he told was that he dropped her off at school. When she went to go pick Madeline up from school, she wasn't there. This is how the story goes, right? And after some investigation, there was found on his Google Drive 1,700 photos depicting Madeline in CSAM situations. And we actually watched his interrogation a little bit earlier this week. There were also something like 34,000 other CP images on his phone. I have been dumbfounded. I had been kind of riding the fence. I was waffling back and forth on whether or not that I believed that Jen had anything to do with it, and whether or not it doesn't matter what the excuse is to me anymore. I think that she is culpable. I'm hoping that there will be some charges brought against her sometime soon. So we're going to go ahead and get into this video. Quick reminder that if there is something that you want me to see in the chat, please go ahead and put GF on your comment. Like Brendy just came home from work, so excited. Well, I'm glad you're here, Brendy, and Baptized by Fire saying, whoop, whoop. I assumed that you did it in a falsetto voice, but anyway. Before we get into this real quick, I do want to bring one other thing to your attention, guys. Check this out. You ready? Ready for this? Boom. We are a community 93,370 strong. And it is blowing my mind. It is so amazing that so many of you have decided to subscribe to the channel, and I'm very grateful for those of you who have. If you like this kind of content, we do this all the time. We do very deep dives. I'm not somebody who's really kind of chasing the breaking news. We do very, very deep dives. One of the best places to go for those deep dives is my website. For a true crime addict, this website should be your drug of choice. It is chock full of investigative files, photos, crime scene photos, the whole shebang. So please head on over to my website, gavinfish.com. All of the links are in the description below. While you're there, if you ever want to contact me, just click contact. There is a form that you can fill out, and you can do it anonymously. So please do. Okay? If there's anything that you want me to see or know, any document that you want to upload, this is where you do it right here. Okay. So with that, gonna get back to the video. It's going to start and it's going to sound like there's no sound, and it's going to sound like there's no sound because there is indeed no sound, but that just lasts for a few seconds. Anytime there's no sound on this, it is a redaction by the Osceola County Sheriff's Office. I also have tweaked the audio a little bit to make it a little easier for us to hear it. I've dehummed it, I've denoised it, I've amplified it a little bit. So hopefully it will be better for us. Everybody will be able to understand it. Okay, here we go.
At the same time, no, but okay. I've had ex-husbands and ex-boyfriends live in that same house before.
Okay.
So as these drop, these are redactions. And anytime they redact, it probably has to do with the behavior that is alleged that Stephen Stearns engaged in with Madeline. It's probably to protect
Port Charlotte
her.
sometime in 2020 for a few months.
Yeah.
And then you came back to the same house.
After Port Charlotte, I went back to my mom's house for a little while.
Where's that?
In Hunters Creek, Florida.
Got it.
Even before Port Charlotte, actually, the few months before I was in Port Charlotte, I was living at my mom's house.
With Stephen.
Around March 20th, I decided he wanted to renovate the house and possibly sell it, so he told us to get out. So March 2020, so around COVID time, like 2 weeks after COVID was announced, I moved in with my mom.
Okay.
And I lived with her for a little bit, and then the Port Charlotte apartment happened. We moved to Port Charlotte, were there for a few months, came back to live with my mom, was there for a few months, and then I decided to move back. That he was moving out and like getting an RV and like living the RV life.
Yeah.
So he needed somebody to take care of the house for him. So I said, yeah, I would do it, of course. So I moved in. I moved into his bedroom, downstairs, the master bedroom.
So she did him a favor.
Eventually, Stephen did come. For a few years. It wasn't until like June of last year that.
You know, the first hour of this interview, there was barely any redaction. But now they're starting to
Go
talk.
Upstairs to the guest bedroom upstairs because I just.
Details. Yeah.
He's not a very clean guy. He's kind of a little hoarder, like collector. So just my house was always a mess and never
Thank
the
you,
way
Becky.
that I wanted it to look. Or the clutter just gave me anxiety. So I asked him to move upstairs and he did. And he lived upstairs until December of last year. And then he moved to Northport, Florida with his parents. But they had promised him a job, but that fell through. So we were in the process of trying to get him to come back up here to get his job back at Disney and for him to move back into the house for a little bit. And I'm not sure long term. I know temporarily I was willing to accept him back.
Was that something out of convenience for him or because you?
A little bit of both. We missed him. And I wanted to help him out, like make it easy, like give him a place, like a base to start at, and then for him to start looking for something else afterwards on his own. But yeah.
You've obviously.
Seems like anytime they're talking about Madeline, specifically,
Relationship.
we're redacting.
Talk a lot. Is she a secret teenager? What is like your kind of day to day with her?
I would have said a normal relationship. I asked, she would tell me. I didn't think she was hiding anything from me. I didn't think she was lying to me about anything, but obviously she had secrets.
I mean, the hindsight. I mean, all the stuff you found out over the past.
That makes me so angry. No, she didn't have secrets. You knew about this. She had to have known about this. Come on. That just makes me angry. Obviously, she had secrets. Come on, man.
Days we're like taking that out of the picture. Your relationship with her.
Okay.
Like not
say,
looking back saying, okay, I was being lied to. Like up until you found out some things that you've been told. You guys had an open communication relationship. You talk about
everything.
Life.
Yeah. If anything, she was a little bit more open with Stefan because she told him about a boy she had a crush on.
Okay.
And that his name was. And she described him. And Stefan's like, are you aware that she has a crush on a boy? I said, no. He's like, yeah. She told me his name, that he's tall and that she likes his fluffy hair.
Thanks, Dom's mom.
When was this? Do you remember when this conversation happened?
Within the last week sometime, but I'm not
Oh,
sure.
okay.
Like within, so we saw, so within a week of that Sunday. I'm not sure if if she had told him via phone chat. It must have been via phone, like phone conference, like we don't FaceTime, we Google Meet.
The Android
version of FaceTime, yeah. So we would Google Meet often. Sometimes when we get home from school, just talk all day, or sometimes not even talk all day. We would just bullshit. I would be doing my own thing. We're just keeping each other company on the phone. And I think in one of those conversations, she told him that she had a crush on a boy. But I checked those text messages with that boy, and nothing seemed weird either. So.
How did he? I mean, it could be new. I mean, she sees a guy at school, she thinks it's attractive, he shows her attention, and she's young. How did he take it? Was he like? And I want you to think back before you know things you know now. Like, did he seem concerned about her? Did he seem excited for her? Like she started.
See, that is a great question, establishing what Stefan Stern's comportment was when Madeline was starting to express interest in boys. And, Stefan was asked that specifically by the detectives that interviewed him too, right? Oh yeah, it was great. It was fine. But I think that's a very good question to learn about the family dynamic here. I'm still do not believe for a second that she didn't know what was happening with Madeline.
Be a kid, have crushes and everything else.
He seemed happy for her.
Okay.
He's like, yeah, did you hear this? This is super cute. And I was like, oh. She hadn't told me. And I wondered, I'm like, why didn't she tell me? Why did she tell him and not me? And like, I want to know who she's got a crush on. But maybe it's because I told her she had a rule. She wasn't allowed to date for a few years. Until like, I think I had said 16 or something like that. But I didn't want her dating.
So then your relationship with her was open. Obviously, she's a child. She's not going to share everything.
Yeah.
With him, it seems like she has a very open relationship with him. They talk, they hang out.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Like, he had been her abuser for 5 years. Did she have some sort of...
so he'd be okay with you if they...
childish belief that they were connected better somehow because of that. So sad.
Went out and did things together outside if you were at work or something.
It's muted here.
So the living situation with them, I'll be honest, seems weird. It's weird to me. She's got a bedroom downstairs. What's kind of the mindset or the thought process, the communication you've had with Stefan about, she's not going to sleep in her bed, but you guys are going to sleep in the guest bedroom?
Great question.
So originally the plan was that all three of us were going to sleep in my bed together.
And I'm not just saying Sunday, I mean like...
Hey, you know what? Speaking of that, okay, the story is that they were broken up, that she asked him to go up to the second floor to bedroom number 4 because they were broken up. How are they broken up if she's asking him to sleep in her bed? Like, this is a strange... it's just a strange kind of weirdness that she believes that this is a normal familial kind of manner of living. It's just a little bit off. It's definitely out of the mainstream. Either that or I am the most like prudish guy there is. I guess that's possible, but it's strange. No, you're on again, off again. You broke up. You're not your boyfriend. He is a renter. He's living in room number 4, but you were going to sleep with him that night with your daughter. That is strange, man. It is absolutely, I don't get how she can like with a straight face talk to investigators about this. They obviously don't understand it. I obviously don't understand it. It's just weird.
Oh, okay. So I had a rule. She wasn't allowed to sleep in his bedroom at all. Like, no
that's a
sleepovers,
rule.
no nothing.
Hard rule.
For a very long time. For years.
Since we're pausing,
Yeah.
what brought that on? Was that like a request of his, like, can we sleep in the same bed, request of hers, or you just saying?
Me being super paranoid, not to trust anyone. For the longest life, even though he treated her well, I still looked at him on, like side-eye, like making sure, like, is that normal? Is this, okay, that looks normal, okay. I wanted to make sure that nothing was happening and that I was missing something, but I was.
Yeah, but again, I just call bullcrap on this whole thing. And Adstein, that's a good comment. Let's see. Jen said Maddie didn't have her own bedroom because her dad wanted the rent for rooms. Why wasn't the grandpa interviewed? I'm not sure if he was or not. Amy's saying, Gavin, I think Jennifer knew. Jen didn't sleep either. Him for 2 years. She offered her to him. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, let's just keep playing. Sorry. This is a great comment, Kathy Lou.
He never requested. I'm sorry. Repeat the question then.
So I guess
she talked about being paranoid about, like, Maddie, like paranoid about anything that might happen to Madeline. Yeah, see, that is a natural reaction that a parent might have to protect their child. Listen to those instincts. But I shouldn't have even said that because I think it's all lies. I don't believe any of this.
Like, you had a rule. Like, obviously we know now they've, slept in the same bedroom together and everything else. I'm sure you're questioning a lot of things that, like, you haven't been told or that are going on. The thought process of them sleeping in the same bedroom caused you to say that you had a rule for the longest time where they couldn't.
Yeah.
I have a son. He's a lot younger than her. He's 4. But I guess if I was dating somebody or had somebody over, I would never establish, and this is just me, a rule. He can't sleep in the bed with her, or she's not going to be. It wouldn't even be a thought process for me. So that's why I asked, because I wouldn't think of it even as an option.
Yeah.
So when you say you had a rule, I guess I'm asking what prompted the rule.
Good, great question.
Sleepovers before. Yeah. Like, you want to watch movies and eat snacks? Can we do that? I'm like, no. We can all watch movies down here together. We can all sleep down here together.
Yeah, maybe PJ.
Up until June, together all the time. So we were always. She would sleep in the middle. I would sleep on this side. He would sleep on the other side. It wasn't until June that he got his own bedroom and I sent him upstairs. That's where the requests for sleepover started.
Okay.
And I kept telling her no. I'm not comfortable with that. But eventually, at some point,
because it's not something to be comfortable with.
I forgot what movie it was. They really wanted to watch something, and I was really tired. And I said, okay, fine. Go ahead, but this can't happen often.
Okay, so what she just explained is that Maddie went up to his room to play video games, and that's when the sleepovers requests started. I wonder who was requesting that. Neither of them were requesting this because this is lies. I don't believe any of this. Yeah, and great comment there on this. That's really good. How to rule.
And yeah, I allowed her to go upstairs and sleep with him. But honestly,
Graciela,
I think I can count on
looking
one
out
hand
for
how many
me.
times that's happened, and it has been many times that I've allowed her to have a supper party with him, to be alone in a bed with him. I'm usually around all the time.
So
up until 2 weeks ago, I was pretty much at home all the time, living on disability. If I wasn't at home, just I was substitute teaching, but I was substitute teaching primarily at her school or at the school close by, but I'd make sure I'd get out around the same time and I'd get out in time to pick her up and take her. So she was with me pretty much all the time. She wasn't at school.
I have noticed that, Audrey.
When he's not there, where does she sleep?
With me.
She never sleeps in her room?
No, always with me.
Quickly, do you know, and you may hate the question, do you have any idea? We currently have upwards, probably 200 people working on fire. Right, the Orange County Sheriff's Office is involved, the Kissimmee Police Department's involved, St. Cloud Police Department, Osceola County Sheriff's Office, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, FBI. Yes, under suspicious circumstances. So anybody who is somebody is involved.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I bet that scared
regardless of the circumstances, those
life
people don't get to go home. Those people don't get to go back to their families. Those people don't get to live their lives and go back to their primary jobs.
Of course.
I know the sheriff has probably expressed to you that's his number one priority. I'm sure the Kissimmee Police Department's expressed that to you, our detectives. This isn't something that's going to stop or go away.
Yeah.
Right? Anybody who knows something, anybody who may know something, will be brought into a room, will be talked to, whether they're guilty, whether they're innocent. Because our number one priority, our jobs have kind of stopped on any other things we have going on until it's fine. Because that's the most important thing anybody has going on right now.
Thanks, Angie.
But with that, a lot of people are going to feel that whatever happened, I can tell you, and I know detectives have expressed to you that the thought process at this point is this is a homicide investigation.
Yeah.
Based on the evidence I've seen, based on the videos I've seen, I do believe. With that being said, and the reason I tell you that, not to be an asshole, is because the thought process with us leads it in a different investigation, a different way. Meaning, whatever has already happened, right? We cannot change what happened most likely on Monday. We cannot change the fact that I believe Stefan killed her, right? All we can do now is find her as quickly as possible. On the 2% chance we're wrong and she is alive, that's phenomenal, right? That's the best thing that can happen. On the chance that we are 100% correct and she has passed away,
straight.
Finding her now versus later will bring closure to your family, will bring closer to everybody, regardless of how it happened or why it happened. Meaning, if you have an inclination, if you know where she's at, if his father knows, that doesn't mean those people get held accountable for what he did. It doesn't mean those people get held accountable for knowing what he did. It means we close out the investigation. You know what I mean? So a lot of times we go into rooms like this and we ask people questions. We say, hey, do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? And there's this fear of what happened already happened. I can't change that, so I'm not going to insert myself with knowledge because it's going to make me look bad. Regardless, at this point, I murdered her, right? He victimized her. He ruined her entire life from childhood until now.
Laying it out, preach.
I think that there's probably some sense of guilt. And my fear is that sense of guilt is causing you to not want to assist in the location of her.
Good.
Not because you're a bad person, but because there's that sense of guilt that what was happening under your roof. And now, by her being found, brings that all to your plate, and it doesn't.
Oh no. If I knew anything, I would so tell you. I want to believe it if she's dead because you guys tell me your suspicions, but I'm not going to believe it until I have her body.
So there are things, and the reason I say these things, and again, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but the reason I say these things is there's been a lot of things you've said, and a lot of things I've kind of researched between the Fox 35 story, between your initial statement to the police. A lot of things have changed. The initial statement to the police was you watched her get dressed, you watched her leave, you knew exactly what she was wearing.
Yes.
Can I tell you my thought process on that, or where I came from with that? I was handed this form, And I'm like, where do I start? What do I write? And somebody said, tell them what you saw. And so I started with I saw. And then I wrote out what I wrote out. But it wasn't until later I was like, wait, I didn't see her.
No, I do not buy that. I don't buy that one bit. I don't buy it at all. Come on.
Assumed that I saw her. I assumed that I heard her, but I didn't. In reality, I didn't see her. I only saw him, and I heard something in the kitchen, but I don't know who that was.
Which we talked about today. But I guess there's other concerns. Right? You are nervous. The police have showed you their hand. They said, Stefan, we want your phone. Stefan, we want to talk to you. We're going to lock down your residence. You can't go back inside. Me? I don't care if it's the love of my life sitting next to me. I don't care if it's maternal grandma. If the police come and take my mom's phone and my son's disappearance, I'm not going to offer my mom a lawyer.
Yes.
That's nuts to me. That to me shows you prioritizing stuff.
Yes.
Because at that point, you became more worried about him being falsely accused than any.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I love this guy. He is he's laying it on hard. The hard truth. You prioritize Stefan over Maddie based on what you have told me today. Oh my goodness. I love this guy. I love it. Guys, I'm so hopeful that she is going to be charged in this. I'm extremely hopeful. I'm so glad that Maddie's body was found in enough time that she wasn't completely decomposed and they could see things like evidence of strangulation, and I'm sure they could get DNA and stuff like that off of her. I'm so glad that they found her in time, that it just wasn't skeletal remains, right? And this is really dark, and I'm sorry about this, because I would be much more glad if none of this ever happened, if we were not talking about this. But since it did happen, and I got to catch myself on that kind of stuff more often. Earlier today I was talking to a let's say a medico-legal death investigator, and we were talking about cases that we had worked on in our different capacities. She as an investigator and me as a reporter. And it got really jovial and really jocular too quickly. Like I had to catch myself and say, whoa, I am so sorry that I let that go, that I actually laughed as we were talking about that. I wasn't laughing about the tragedy, but I was laughing about kind of some of the stuff that goes along with me reporting on things. I've got to be really, really careful not to do that, because we've got a victim here, right? We've got a victim who spent at least 5 of her 13 years, more than a third of her life, as the victim of horrific abuse by the hand of this guy. I mean, I would say allegedly, but Chris believes it. His dad believes it. His mom believes it. Jen believes it. Jen knows it, crying out loud. Like, there is so much evidence against him. It doesn't even seem that, and we watched that video, like he didn't even flinch that they were arresting him for it. Anyway, she spent all of her life, all of the life that she would remember, being a victim of that guy. And I believe that woman. And I think this cop is laying it on, man. He is laying it on. And my only criticism of this guy is I wish he laid it on thicker. I wish he was even harder about it. Of course, there's still, an hour and a half left in this recording. But man, I am so glad to hear that the kid gloves came off. And like, listen, you are prioritizing Stefan. From the things that you have said today, you are prioritizing Stefan over your daughter. That makes me suspicious that you know something else. Oh, that was rad. Love this guy.
Does that make sense what I'm saying? Whether or not that's what you felt, does that make sense? People having lawyers is their constitutional right. That is a thing that everybody is afforded. But for somebody who's going through what you are going through, to offer him a lawyer leads me to believe that there may have been a conversation, there may have been knowledge, or there may have been some inclination that you had, whether it be his involvement, her location, or something to where in your mind there's guilt.
I promise you, like,
Because you offering him a lawyer is very weird.
That's right.
I know. That was still me under the assumption that I think at one point you guys interviewed me, and when you guys showed me the picture of her, I believed the sexual stuff, but I didn't want to believe that he had done anything evil to her. I'm like, no, what if he did this stuff fine?
What? I knew that he had done the sexual stuff, but I didn't want to believe that he had done anything evil to her. Oh my goodness. No, madam. At least with murder, she gets the release of it. The stuff that he had been doing for the 5 years previous to her murder was way worse, way more evil than what he ultimately did to her, which was also pure evil. Like, I cannot with this woman. I just can't even. She just makes me so angry, man. Oh my goodness. I didn't want to believe that the evil thing had been done. Oh my goodness.
What if she's still missing out there? What if somebody took her? I still wanted to believe I believed him. I believed his whole story. So I was just like, I kept repeating that part. I'm just like, what if she did get dropped off? What if she got abducted? What if she's missing? But that was me assuming that you guys had the wrong guy. I wanted to think he was a good guy still, but clearly he's not. After everything you guys have told me and have shown me, I know he's the worst person on this face of the earth.
We know
right
that now. We know he's a piece of shit now.
You know?
Exactly,
but you didn't
Patty.
know that then.
I didn't.
Then you offered a guy who the police suspected of kidnapping, abducting, assisting the disappearance, offering a lawyer. And then we don't have to roundtable that. You went back to what you just said is the sex stuff is fine.
It's not fine.
Hold on. I know every relationship is different, and I know everybody's family is different. I won't ask, but going back on.
I feel the same way,
Has he
Michelle.
expressed interest in? I would use the word weird. I'm not going to shame anybody for what they like. Different sexual pleasures, different sexual experiences, different kinks that involve things you weren't comfortable with.
Thanks, Audrey.
The only thing he's ever expressed to me was like anal.
Okay.
He had an anal kink and like butts.
Okay.
But that was something I was never comfortable with or doing, and I let him know that. Like that's something.
That's fine. You guys slept in the same bed together. Stephen was a big portion of your life at one point. Stefan was a big portion of your life at one point. And this is not me coming at you as a person or a bad person, because shit happens in the past. We can't change the past. Has he ever expressed to you?
He's building this trust back.
Never.
Has he ever made comments?
After he kind of let her have it, now it feels like he's trying to build this trust back. Hey, the past is the past. I'm not judging you, but you got to tell me the truth, right? He's doing a really good job.
These statements about made you feel different.
No.
Okay? When you guys slept in the same bed together, in the middle, did you ever wake up and find them cuddling? Did you ever wake up and find them closer than you thought?
Mo, I'm going to come back to this one.
They would snuggle, yeah.
Okay.
But we all snuggle. I didn't think that was that problem.
So if you guys are sleeping,
They would snuggle. Guys, tell me tell me if I'm wrong here, okay? Just like, maybe I'm wrong here, but like, I don't know what they're describing as snuggling. Are they talking about like hugging or holding or consoling or expressing, um, expressing care? Or were they like full on laying down on a bed, like spooning or something like that? Like, I don't get this snuggling thing. I just don't. And like, okay, so Kimberly and I, we have 3 adult children, we have 2 minor children, right? So the 3 adults, we have raised them to adulthood. They are now their own people. There is a time at which like children become juvenile. What do we want to say? Children become like teenagers, right? They go through that prepubescent area, then through the puberty and all that stuff. And that is the time where you're weaning them off of the childish things. Now, I still like hug my kids. I still express my care and my love. But snuggle? No, not at 13. No, I did not. Am I wrong about this? He's right. Like this whole thing is just so weird.
In the same bed, she's in the center. You've woken up and they're snuggling. They're under the same blanket. They're not under the same blanket.
No.
But just like
she's got her own blanket. She's got her own.
For what? What is snuggling to you? Because to me, snuggling, spooning.
Gen X.
A little spoon.
He would lay down
exactly.
like this, and she would be right here in the nook.
Okay. How do you guys sleep? You guys sleep clothed, unclothed? I sleep clothed.
Yeah.
Shirt, pants, pajama sets.
Yes.
Everybody.
I sleep in like my everyday clothes.
Okay.
On pajamas or baggy t-shirts and shorts.
Okay.
And Stefan would sleep.
Maybe.
With his t-shirt or boxers. Sometimes with his pants on. But he didn't have pajamas.
Okay, so they would snuggle, sometimes him being in his boxers. You would wake up and she'd be in the nook of his arm, essentially in a cuddling position. And you never found that weird.
No.
Okay. Again, you and I may find things different. Why? And I don't want you to look back on it because now you know you victimized her for a long time. Right? Under your roof. With you home, most likely, because you said you're always home. You just got this
That's
job
right.
Moving off disability. I know the Kissimmee Police Department has showed you pictures. I know they've verbally explained you some pictures. I can tell you that today, they're still downloading his Google Drives. We are still going through his social medias, his cloud-based servers, and everything else. And we can now piece back her victimization in your house under your care to 2020.
Yeah. Keep going.
I believe you've gone as far back as in when she. So when I ask, they've woken up cuddling, did you find things suspicious? Did you have an open relationship? Did he talk to you? Has he made inappropriate statements? It's almost like cheating, right? Like, have you ever been cheated on? Okay. Somebody can only cheat on somebody for so long until they fuck up, or until something comes out, or somebody says something, right? So we go back to 2020.
Preach,
we're looking at a
man.
minimum of 3.5 years. 3.5 years where I'm sure you guys are sexually active. Yes. So for 3.5 years under your care in your house, not only is he being sexually active with you, you had a sexual relationship.
Good for this guy. Yes. Let me pause here. This is a good question. North Carolina nurse. Yes. You can see up there at the top, I always label my files year, month, date, and then if I have a time, I do the time. So this was 12:45 p.m. on March the 1st of this year. Her body was found at 4:30 p.m. that same day. Very good question.
And I know it's an emotional thing, and I know it sucks to hear. But where I'm coming from is it seems like something that you can't hide forever. You guys live in a small space, close quarters. You sleep in the same bed. You guys all talk. You guys all share things. You're an observant person for the most part, I assume. Outside of taking medications and going to sleep, it seems very difficult. A lot of grown-ass adults can't hide an affair with somebody who doesn't live with them.
That's right.
Let alone somebody who does live with them. So at a certain point, I do believe you became aware of what was going on.
No.
And when I say that, it doesn't mean you're in trouble. It doesn't change.
I know, but
I do believe that a reasonable person, I consider you a reasonable person, right? You think you're
Listen
a
to this
reasonable
part.
person?
yes.
Would be aware that under her roof, sexual relation.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. I know we've got a couple of attorneys in the house tonight, okay? But this is very, very important, and this comes up in court all the time. Now, again, let me preface this. I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm a reporter and a YouTuber. That's what I am. But this comes up in court all the time. It's a standard, the reasonable person standard, right? Many statutes are written to the reasonable person statute. Would a reasonable person believe that X, Y, and Z? Would a reasonable person, and these statutes are written that way. And so in some of the prosecution of these cases where they've got this standard, the reasonable person standard, right? The prosecutor, sometimes always the judge, will explain to the jury what the standard is that they have to judge something by, right? And the reasonable person standard is basically, would a reasonable person, like in this case, would a reasonable person be suspicious that their boyfriend was having sexual relations with their daughter? That reasonable standard, that is a legal bar, right? And Detective Kevin here is obviously saying, if you didn't know this, you should have known this, because a reasonable person would have known this. Therefore, like, they could bring charges if there's a statute that is written that says a reasonable so-and-so is guilty of this statute if a reasonable person would believe that blah, 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 right? If they have those statutes on the books in Florida, which in every state they do, they'll be able to get her on that. And he's bringing it to her. He's telling her right now. Oh my goodness. I love this guy. Love him.
The videos, the text messages, the images, they're all documented forever. This has been an ongoing thing. And at her age, I think she probably thought they were in a relationship. She probably thought they were in love because he her male attention, right? She just started liking boys, right? She just got a crush.
This guy's amazing.
Up until then, her crush
was Stefan. I don't know when they'll come, but they'll come.
At the same time, you guys are sleeping in the same bed together. You guys are all cohabitating. She's not sleeping in her room. But you felt the need to establish a rule that they couldn't sleep in the same room. But when you established that rule...
So having established that rule and having the norm be you sleep with me, that probably will go to consciousness of the act that was happening under her roof. A prosecutor could definitely make the argument that Jen Soto had a consciousness of guilt. Not that necessarily she was doing the crime, but that she knew that the crime was being committed. Therefore, she could be guilty of another crime like child endangerment and stuff like that, accessory, things like that. He is laying it out on her, and it's amazing.
For 3 years, she's already been dating him, essentially.
Whether
that's legal or not.
I had no idea.
So I truthfully believe, this is my belief, I'm not speaking for other detectives, I'm not speaking for the sheriff's office, the state police department, or any other agency I've said. This is Kevin's belief. I believe that you became aware of their sexual relationship.
Yep.
I think at a certain point throughout this relationship, you became aware of it. And for whatever reason,
Yep.
your reasons are your reasons, whether it was discussed that it would stop, whether it was discussed how it would go, that you feel some sense of guilt.
Yep.
A lot of the news statements you've given kind of, again, my opinion only, I don't speak for anybody else, whether it's in this room or out of this room, bother me. It seems like some of your emotion, up until this room, I think some of the emotion in this room is sincere. I think a lot of it's because I'm being an asshole. I'm telling you things you don't want to hear that shouldn't be said out loud. But when you talk to the news, when you talk to deputies, it feels, based on my experience in this job,
Tell her.
that it's not sincere.
Yep.
I feel like some of your sadness is not real sadness. I feel like when you gave the interview with Fox 35, it was not sincere.
Yep.
Looking at that video one time, I didn't feel like your cries were sincere. And I'm not saying that because you're a bad person. I feel like sometimes people struggle to show real emotion when they're aware of what the truth is. So it has to be fake. This is
Yep.
demise for the past, let's say, 5 years, right? But her going missing, her disappearance, if you have knowledge of how it happened, where it happened, an inclination, that emotion's not going to feel sincere because you're already aware of what happened.
Oh my goodness, he's so
It
good.
almost becomes a lie at that point.
If I knew anything, I promise you, I would tell you. Like, I am willing to take a lie detector test, whatever the fuck you want, but I don't know anything. He's never mentioned anything. I've never seen any signs. I tried watching her like a hawk. I thought I was doing a good job, but I wasn't. I was oblivious to everything. 4 years?
Minimum. That's
Minimum.
just how that far back the cloud goes. And I find it hard to believe for me that you were so worried about how many pills she took at night, but not where she slept or what relationship she was.
Good
His
for him.
interest in her.
I thought we were all safe. I thought we could have trust in that. He hadn't shown me anything so far. Like, everything seems fine. Like, he seemed like he treated her
Like he treats you.
Oh.
In his mind.
it's so fucking disgusting.
So now he's in jail because of what we found on his phone, not because somebody came forward and reported that he.
I know.
She's not old enough to consent. She's not old enough to have a thought process to even want anything that was happening to her. It's abuse. So he's in jail for that. But something caused what, right? We sort of murder, because we can call it a murder. She didn't die naturally. She didn't overdose. She didn't have a heart attack. We circled murder on Monday. Something had to cause that. He's been having unrestricted sexual activity for a long time. He's getting what he wants from her, probably from you, and who knows whoever else, right? So it's not like he woke up or went to bed Sunday and he was like, you know what? I'm done with this, but I'm going to kill her. Something happened. People don't just wake up and like, you know what? They leave people.
This is so good. This guy is so good. Like, something happened. Tell me what happened. Right. And the fact that Madeline was strangled, by the way, I've got a guy that I've been talking to who is a retired cop who is an expert on strangulation that I'm trying to get on the show maybe the week after next. We're going to talk about strangulation itself. But man, this guy's like, no, people don't just wake up and decide that they're going to murder somebody. Something had to have happened. And by the way, there are a couple of comments that I haven't shown on the screen yet that I'm going to get to, that I put stars on, that I'm going to come back to, that kind of go along with this. This guy is, he's so spot on.
They break up with people, but usually things cause people to snap. Now, what? And you know what? And I'm in trouble, or I feel like I'm going to, or him being out. We can go even worse. She's pregnant.
That's what questions last night led me to believe when we started talking about her period.
I was told that her and her friend, and granted, I'm male, never had a period, but that somebody found it weird that they were no longer on the same cycle. Could be different because she's a teenage girl. Could be that she missed her period. Have you ever found a pregnancy test at home that wasn't yours?
I have 2 underneath the bathroom sink, but I haven't seen if they're still there or not.
Okay. But you haven't seen any used ones in the trash?
No.
Their relationship hasn't changed?
No.
Yeah. Every time he looks at his smartwatch, I think he's being updated on the search that's happening. By this point, it's now 2:15 in the afternoon, right? Or is this Zulu time? No, it's 10:15. This is Zulu time. Looking at the clock up here in the corner, it's 10:15 a.m. So, yeah, it's actually more than, 6 hours away from when her body's actually found. But every time he looks at that, I think they're close to finding her.
So what do you think happened Sunday? Other than him killing her, what do you think made him snap?
Great question.
I don't know. Theories, I keep hearing.
Tell me your theories, because here's the deal. We don't go home until she's found.
No, I know.
So what are your theories?
What I've heard is, what if she upset him and threatened to tell me and say that she was going to tell me, and he needed to shut that down. That's the only thing.
What do you think?
I believe. I don't want to believe he killed her. But from what you guys are telling me, he must have killed her Sunday night and snuck her body out in the morning. That photo you guys showed me of her stuck in the car.
Yeah, they're...
You don't want to believe he killed her.
I want to believe she's...
Look at the other detective, and I know this is in the way now, but watch this knee. Just watch him.
still alive and that she got kidnapped, but that doesn't seem like that's the case.
He's upset.
I know. My brain just wants to believe something else. I just want to believe she's still alive. She's out there.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
He acted so normal that day. He was like, I'm so impressed. We got out of the house
guys.
so early. Like, she made great time. We had so much time to go to McDonald's, but she didn't want to. His story was so fun. Like, every detail was so believable. He's just been
Her hands
lying
are sweating.
Like, he's...
What about that day in the car when you got from the alert? Did you disclose anything to you there that made you feel like, oh fuck, he needs a way?
No. He kept acting like he didn't know what was happening, and I'm like, don't you see
Thanks,
forensics?
guys.
Don't you see they took your phone? Like, something's happening. Like, I think they're gonna pin this on you. And I'm like, in my head, I'm going, they have the wrong guy. Like, they're just honing in on the last person who saw her. But no, you guys knew more.
You never said, what did you do?
I've never asked him any of that. I still, even up until when we got here to the police station, I was convinced that he hadn't done anything to her at all.
Because of him or because of not wanting to believe she's deceased?
Because of him. Because I thought he was a good guy.
So up until this morning, you still think that it's not?
No.
You're talking about the other day?
Up until
When we took him?
Yes.
Okay.
I forgot what day of the week that was.
So we're still going through his phone, his drive, like I told you, all his socials. We can date back to 2020. Based on the videos, it appears that was the start of the victimization. Okay, are we going to find anything in his phone with him?
Oh, great question.
Has there ever been a request for for the two of you to participate in sexual activity with him?
No.
Regardless of you saying no or yes.
No, he's never asked that.
Okay. If we find pictures like that, is that going to surprise you? So if I'm in his Google Drive, if I have a sex crimes detective, a computer person look at his phone, and they tell me, hey Kevin, I found a picture engaged in sexual activity or borderline sexual activity, is that going to surprise you?
Yes, because that doesn't exist.
Okay. At any time during the course of your relationship, has he expressed that he has ever had sex with a child?
No. Not a child, but when he told me when he was in high school, he graduated high school like later, like older than 18.
Okay.
He dated somebody younger than 18. I think she was 15. But I don't know how old he was, 19, 20. But he was an older kid in high school. He graduated late. But he had a really young girlfriend. Her name was Kendall. And I thought that was weird. I was like, that's a little too young. He goes, no, it's fine. We were in high school. Everything was normal. Her parents loved me. Blah, 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 blah. But that's the only one.
Have you ever gone through his phone?
That's interesting.
Okay. If you had knowing Stefan, knowing where he lives, knowing where he goes, how he conducts his life, give me your top 5. Because I know you've had to have thought about it. If you haven't thought about it, that's another weird thing I got. Since Monday, right? We told you on Wednesday that we think he did it.
Yeah.
So from Wednesday till today, it's about 48 hours. Give me your top 5 places you think are possibilities based on knowing him, based on knowing his path of travel. Where do you think, and it doesn't have to be based on evidence, just in your gut, give me your top 5 places where you think he could.
In this area,
Doesn't have to be this area.
No, I know.
Anywhere you want.
I'm saying in this area, I have no idea. Orlando, Kissimmee, no idea where he could have taken her. But his trip to Northport is weird as fuck. I feel like in Northport, he knows more people. He has more friends. There could be a place and somewhere there he could have stashed her. You guys said he went into a storage unit. That would be another place to look. But there's plenty of woods around his house. Around that exit is kind of secluded. Like,
When you say his house, you mean his parents' house?
his parents' house, yeah.
You've been there? Have you seen the property?
Yeah, I've been there before.
Do they have land? Or is it in like a neighborhood?
So it's not a neighborhood because they don't have HOA. You just buy the plot of land and build it. They don't have many neighbors.
Okay.
Or last I saw, I think there was a neighbor building right next door, but I don't know if they're done yet. I just feel like he had more. There would have been more spots in Northport for her to be dumped.
Oh, that is
Because
sad
from what
to
you guys
think
have told
about.
me, he went to St. Cloud, he went to 192.
She's talking about the body of her daughter being dumped by her ex-boyfriend. And she just says that matter-of-factly. There are so many places her body could be dumped. Oh, man.
Could you guys tell where he turned on any of these roads? It just that he was on the main road? I didn't think he ever even knew.
Yep. Boston Rose.
Where
You
St.
are
Cloud
spot
was
on.
because we've never driven down that way ever.
You live in Kissimmee, right?
Yeah, I know, but to me, he's never had a reason to ever drive down to St. Cloud. Like, ever. There's no store or anything he goes to down there. Everything is in Kissimmee or Orlando by the mall.
Okay, so she's pointing them to St. Cloud. She is specifically pointing them to St. Cloud right now. And if I'm suspicious, I feel like both of them are very suspicious about that.
Florida Mall?
Yeah.
LA Mall?
Yeah, Florida. I sent the last detective like 3 spots. I could have recalled him telling me he wanted to visit. Monday, when he left the house in the afternoon and got the flat tire, he had mentioned a few of those shops, so I sent them over to you guys. There's honestly nowhere I can think of. We've never gone to the only wooded area that we've ever gone together.
Nick, that comment that I just kind of glossed over a little bit, but yes, they have been talking this whole time, and now they're just waiting. I think they're doing a great job.
Other would be Shingle Creek Regional Park, where the Pioneer Village is.
Okay.
That whole trail there, we had scooters, and he had an electric skateboard kind of thing. We would all cruise the creek, explore. We've taken a canoe up that creek before. Then the Kissimmee Trail. There's a trail that runs right behind my house starts right behind my house and goes all the way to that bridge on John Young Parkway that says Kissimmee on it. That whole trail, we've done that as well.
Good point, Karen.
That's the only places I could think that like he may have gone, because that's where I know I've gone with him before. But anywhere else, I have no idea.
So our ERT team, so emergency response team, is just a group of people who search areas. Doesn't have to be wooded, can be wooded, can be swampy. They've been out for 3 days. They're going to be out all weekend.
Trying to guilt her.
Eventually, whether it's today, whether it's tomorrow, whether it's in 2026. Okay?
Oh, man.
I don't think you want that to take too long. All right, I'm sure you'd like to have a funeral. I'm sure you'd like to have some kind of memorial service. The last thing you want is for us to call you in a year and say, hey, we found remains. We don't know. Okay? That may not be something you thought about till just now, but I can tell you, being someone who investigates homicide, that is something that everybody has to come think about eventually. If you can think of anything that would assist us in making that happen to you today versus 2 years from now, regardless of why you know or how you know, we need it.
No, I know. If I knew anything, I would tell you right now. I promise. I want her back so bad. I don't want to think about planning a funeral.
I think those might be actual tears this time.
What has your communication been like with his father since this?
That might be a good place to stop right there. They're moving on to a different subject. That might be a really good place. Let's see real quick. I mean, I don't want to cut this off. Let's put Maddie up on the screen. And there are some chats that I have put a star on that I want to talk about real quick. First, let's go to the super chats. Barb Murray says she can't risk it. Says it all in my humble opinion. Thank you very much, Barb. Lisa just got here, Gavin. Gonna have to start or rewatch from the beginning. Well, I'm glad you came. Thank you so much. Broke Stacker says, so NVR talk to the police. Never talk to the police, but what about in Jen's case where you're trying to find your daughter? Do you just lure up? Great question. Listen, never talk to the police without a lawyer. That is the rule. Avail yourself of your constitutional rights guaranteed by the 4th, 5th, and 14th Amendments and reinforced into law in Miranda v. Arizona. Just don't. She should have a lawyer here. 100%. Like, I'm glad she doesn't, guys. But listen, she is a criminal, in my opinion. She was part of this, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Detective Kevin there thinks so, and judging by the body language of the other detective, he thinks so too. So I'm glad. I'm glad that she is talking to the police without a lawyer. She finally figured it out and got a lawyer. Nobody who is smart who watches this channel should ever go into a room like this. I don't care if your daughter is missing. I don't care about any of it. You get a lawyer and then you go in there and you talk. That is what I think, Broke Stacker, and thank you very much for the super chat. Thank you, Art, for the super chat. Detective Hatchet, very good. Susan King says, thank you for the super chat, Gavin. Jen said Maddie slept with her all the time. Stefan had thousands of photos. Was Jen in the bed when he took them? And I think the cop kind of asked her that same thing, that, yeah, her story doesn't work, right? It doesn't work. And then a super sticker from Lisa, a parrot character cheerfully blowing a party horn. I wish I could see it, but my software doesn't show me. Thank you very much for those. Going into the things that I've starred, Lucky saying, Gavin, what do you think of her having 2 pregnancy tests there and also not checking? Yeah, they talked about that a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. On the one hand, I'm going, well, is it innocent? Is Jen just living in some fantasy world where her daughter is not being essayed 1,700 times over the course of 5 years, and so she doesn't think about those things? Or is she just so overly medicated that she can't? I don't know. Good question. Mo, do they know with any degree of certainty that she was killed in the apartment or in the car? I have not seen any indication as to what they think the crime scene is. What I can tell you is that they took photos of the apartment building, of the place where Maddie's body was found, of Stefan's car, and of Jen's car. So I think that there's probably a combination. They think that a lot happened there. So I don't know if we have any degree of certainty as to whether she was killed in the apartment or the car. I would imagine it was in the apartment. That's my guess. Gavin, do we know how long they dated before he met Maddie? I actually think that she talked about that in the first part of this this interview, but I don't remember the details. I don't think it was very long at all. In fact, they worked together. Guys, when you're in the same workplace together, your family comes up, especially if you're a single mom. He would have known that she had a little girl. I don't know when he met her. Let's look at another photo of Maddie. Let's see. Kevin, can we as a public put pressure to charge Jen? Tracy, I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to at all. I think that these cops are suspicious of Jen. I think they've probably got evidence against her. I think that they were confident giving her that derivative use immunity because it didn't matter anyway. I don't think that we need to put pressure on them. I think that they will do it at the proper time. Thank you for that comment. Proud Danish, I haven't seen or heard anything about the police finding condoms when they searched the house. Do you think Maddie might have been pregnant? They did talk about that in another interview, that Maddie had been late. He talked about it just a few minutes ago in this interview. But to my knowledge, we don't know if she was. Actually, I think we know that she wasn't, now that I think about it. I'll have to mull that over. But I mean, that's possibly a motive. Hey guys, keep in mind that there's no requirement for a motive when prosecuting a case like this. Like they don't need to, it's not like the movies where they're like, we need to prove motive, means, opportunity. You know, those are all things that are great to be able to have, but they don't have to prove that to a jury. PJ asks, Gavin, does Jen have learning disabilities or mental impediments other than ADHD? ADHD, or I don't know what ADHA is. Probably I'm too thick. I'm overthinking this. Anyway, when I saw your comment here, I was like, well, I mean, she's obviously unhinged, but no, she worked as a substitute teacher. This is a woman that taught other people. So I don't think she necessarily has any learning disabilities. I think that she is anxious and depressed, and probably because she knew about what was going on with her own daughter. And that would be certainly good reason to be anxious and depressed. But yeah, that's, I don't think that she has any mental impairments beyond that. I mean, I have said in the past that I think that she's not quite there, but I think that that probably has more to do with her medication. I don't know. Hey, guys, so we're going to do the third part of this on Monday. Now, I have been assigned to cover a murder trial, which is out of town for me. I'll be traveling there and back every day. The trial is scheduled until like through the 22nd, though all indications are that it will probably be over earlier than that, much earlier than that. So probably the 17th or something like that. So what does that mean for the channel? I'm definitely going to be live streaming all week next week, but I may have to kick it a little bit later because court starts at 9. It usually wraps up by 5. I then need to drive the distance home, write up my report, and get it submitted before I start the live stream. So you may see me kicking these live streams a little bit later, for which I'm sorry, but I do have a day job that I love, and it's an interesting case. So I wanted to give you that heads up. I have a strangulation expert that hopefully will be coming on soon. Maybe not next week, but the week after. We're going to talk about, what some of the motivations and some of the things that lead to a manual strangulation. That he's an ex-cop with lots and lots of experience in that. So if you feel so inclined to subscribe, I would welcome it. We do have a lot more subscribers than we did when we started, and I'm so glad that some of you decided to give me a shot. We are a growing community. I'm so grateful that you guys are spending some time with me. I will see you back here on Monday, hopefully not later than what it's already scheduled for, but I might have to kick it back just a little bit. Until then, have a terrific weekend. I bid you adieu, and I will see you then. Take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.